The primary lead singer of the Marvelettes, Gladys spent more time at Motown than the other group members. I could see that because remember in the New Edition, and I know you're like, "Nay, this ain't the New Edition." I'm always gonna make it about the New Edition, no matter what we talking about. We could be talking about what's his name, Pennywise. I'm gonna bring up the New Edition somehow, some way. Oh, my life, hello there, love bugs. Hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and tip your favorite narrator via Cash App at $NayRob on YouTube. And if you are not already a part of this book club, please hit the Patreon link below. You know I gotta show my dedications to the commanders. Please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube, and for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes you, can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it. Now, let's continue reading The Marvelettes by Mark Taylor. Katherine says, just a couple of years ago, about 4 or 5, I went back and got my diploma. I graduated with honors, and I did it through independent study. I've always found education to be vitally important. I was able to go back, but unfortunately, I didn't go back early enough in my life that I could have made something of my life after show business. That's why I believe half these entertainers go crazy. Because if they can't make money on stage or in front of the camera, what do they have? Baby, some of these entertainers like y'all put down below, and I don't want to call them one-hit wonders. Ooh, my God, I seen that Color Me Bad. Ooh, I want to sex you up. Oh, my God. He still, remember the lead singer? The one that looked like John B. The other dude looked like a chubby George Michael. The other dude looked like Herb Alpert with a bigger forehead, and then I don't know what the black dude looked like, but anyway, baby, the one that was the lead singer that looked like John B. Oh, baby, time got his ass. He still can sing, but time got the hell out of him, just like it do us all. But what was he doing from then to now? The reason Gladys and I both are probably where we are in life right now is due to the lack of education. And don't forget, y'all, Berry Gordy forced them girls to leave. They were young. You know damn well their parents ain't intellectually equipped to get past right now. Some of the girls of other groups may have fared a lot better than we have, but for the majority of them, that's the reason why they are going back out there on the road trying to recapture what was, because we don't have the education to take us further. So it's not a lot of things that my father has had great impact on in regards to my life. But what he explained to me about college was that, listen, no matter what happens, they can't take that from you. No matter how many years have passed, no one can take that accomplishment from you. So although my mother was forcing me to go to college and forcing me to get a degree, no one can take that from me. Even though I don't use my field of study, When people get beside themselves, I have to say, hey, listen, I have a degree just like you do. As the Marvelettes became the #1 girl group of the moment, Motown Record Corporation virtually became their life. There was constant rehearsing and recording as the company capitalized on the group's upward momentum. Gladys recalls, everything was work, work, work at Motown. The demand to come up with a hit was so great. Barry would tell us, we want hit songs. That was drilled into our heads more than anything else during the meetings. Motown was like clockwork. Everything was timed. If we had to be at the studio at 4 o'clock, the studio was ready for us. Whoever was in there from 2 to 3 or from 3 to 4 was out. Now, that's what I like. I respect that about the Motown. They did call it the machine, the Motown machine, because it produced, and it did it effectively for a while, until it didn't no more. Working with the original Marvelettes on any song was just great. Just being at Motown and working on those songs, even if you were in the background, was a great experience for us all. We were just teenagers at the time. Motown was like our second home. No matter where you lived, you were at Motown every day, either recording or being down there with the other artists. It had that kind of feel to it. You knew you were going to be welcomed there, so you went there. Barry was there every day. He always said, if you need to talk to me, I'm in my office, and I'm willing to talk to you. That's the way it was in those days. That's one of the reasons why Motown was so successful. It had its doors open all of the time to the artist. Barry was mostly a meek, mild person. That's weird. I can't believe that. I can't. Well, maybe in front of you guys, he was meek, mild, but I don't know. I think a couple of bodies have been thrown, and because he got that gambling addiction, or had that gambling addiction. Because if you ask me, he lost Motown because of a gambling debt. He didn't lose it, he sold it. When he saw me, he would always ask, are you happy? It kind of made me feel good. By me being a foster child, I never seen my parents and never been around any family. For someone to really care enough about my happiness meant a lot to me. As the primary lead singer of the Marvelettes, Gladys spent more time at Motown than the other group members. I could see that. Because remember in the New Edition, and I know you're like, nay, this ain't the New Edition. I'm always going to make it about the New Edition, no matter what we talking about. We could be talking about, what's his name, Pennywise. I'm going to bring up the New Edition somehow, some way. Ralph spent more time at the studio than the rest of the guys, and the rest of the guys were resentful of that. Ralph was resentful because he's like, why am I relegated to the studio and the rest of these guys, they out having fun and catching the STDs and swallowing pills? Why am I in the studio? Rather than continue making numerous trips to Hitsville from Inkster, she would eventually move to Detroit, renting a room from guitarist Eddie Willis, one of Motown's early session musicians and also an occasional driver for the group. He remembers Gladys stayed with me until she went to LA. She was kind of like my daughter, really. She was kind of a loner. She never did go out shopping with the other girls or anything like that. She was very calm and didn't really go for the boyfriend thing that much. She did have one, but it was never a big deal. She was going with Hubert Johnson of the Contours during the time she was staying with me. The only time she would go out was when he took her out or when she was going to Motown. If she wasn't going out with Johnson, and that wasn't too often, she was just at home. Most of the time she stayed in her room. For her, it was about the Marvelettes doing their thing. When she was living with me, she was always at home reading a book in her room. That was her type of thing. Either that or she would be dealing with the songs, trying to learn them. 1 week after Please Mr. Postman reached #1 on the Billboard R&B chart, the Marvelettes released an album of the same title. The girls are not pictured on the LP. Rather, a simple drawing of an empty mailbox with cobwebs is depicted, indicating how long it has been since any mail was delivered. You know, this is a time where they don't want to show black faces on albums because they want to make sure that everybody buys it. You know, it's like having a name Shaquana, LaTanya, Makisha Johnson versus Allison Sheedy. You know what I'm saying? It's like you don't want the person to know what color you are, because sometimes when a person knows what color you are, you'll well, at least during that time, you'll automatically be taken from the pile. Answer no, this is a ninja. We don't want Laquana up here. We don't want Alizé answering our phones. Let's call up Allison. From the beginning, Motown did not want to limit sales to the black audience. The Marvelettes were rare in being a girl group that sported 2 lead singers. In the early years of their career, it was supposedly difficult to distinguish between Gladys and Wanda. However, on a closer listen, the distinction was easily identifiable. Gladys was deeper and tougher, while Wanda was higher, particularly when she used her falsetto on some tunes, and more romantic. Also, as Please Mr. Postman was released less than a year after the Marvelettes had been singing together, it was evident how lacking the girls were on harmony. Oh, wow. However, this worked to their advantage, particularly on Please Mr. Postman, giving them a high school sound that hit the teen market at a time when the girl group phenomenon was beginning to flourish. Please Mr. Postman opened with 2 songs led by Wanda, a cover of the Satin Tones' Angel, a tune that sounded more New York pop than Detroit-flavored R&B gospel, and I Want a Guy, a song that the Supremes also cut that year. Wanda and Gladys alternated leads on the album's remaining 7 songs. The former fronted the tunes I Know How It Feels and Whisper, while Gladys was out front on Happy Days, You Don't Want Me No More, All the Love I Got, and covers of Barrett Strong's Oh I Apologize and The Miracles Way Over There. The contrast in quality between Please Mr. Postman and the album's remaining 10 tunes is glaring and is a clear indication of how Motown had the Marvelettes hastily record 10 filler tracks to package an album to capitalize on the smash success of one single. This is a trend that Motown will continue with most of its artists throughout the decade. Well, Motown was releasing shit albums so they can make more money, because you know you pay more money for albums than you do singles. Releasing shit songs. The Marvelettes came to Motown at the beginning of the girl group phenomenon, the first major popular music style associated primarily with women. Its origin begins in the 1950s in the music of groups like the Bobettes. Oh, I knew a girl from DC named Bobette. Ooh. When I think about her popularity and why she was so popular, I gotta give it to her. Bobette, you that bitch, you hear me? You that bitch, if you ever see this video. Its origin begins in the 1950s in the music of groups like the Bobettes, who were essentially a one-hit wonder, having their greatest success with Mr. Lee in 1957. And the Chantels, whose singles, Maybe, Look in My Eyes, and Well I Told You, made them one of the first all-female vocal groups to maintain their success beyond one hit. However, these groups were rarities in a male-dominated field of vocal acting. On January 30th, 1961, the Shirelles, Beverly Lee, Doris Coley, Addie Mickey Harris, and Shirley Owens, a quartet from Passaic, New Jersey, became the first all-female group to top the pop charts with Will You Love Me Tomorrow, heralding the true start of the girl group era. Don't forget, the Shirelles are the ones who was hanging out with was it Sugar Ray? No, Etta James, round there to the Bo Diddley house. And we know about the Bo Diddley house. The Bo Diddley house is like the Diddy house, okay? Etta James trying to cover their eyes. Come on, little girls, don't be looking at this mess. And the girls is like over there at the Diddy house. The Bo Diddley house. But you know what I'm talking about. The girl groups provided a voice for a generation of adolescents in countless songs whose themes centered on romance, heartbreak, and the endless search for true love. The appealing honesty and sincerity of the genre was aided by the fact that the group members were primarily still in their teens themselves, and many of the songwriters of the era were not much older. Given how the Marvelettes were Motown's only female unit to have any success on a large scale during this period, and how their songs were aimed primarily at the teenage market, history has painted them as Motown's quintessential girl group. Numerous artists, including the Marvelettes, have pointed to the Shirelles as having opened the doors for other girl groups, with both acts having #1 pop hits in 1961. The Marvelettes and Shirelles often shared the same bill, and the former have often cited the latter as something like big sisters, Katherine points out. The Shirelles and the Chantels and all of the girl groups prior to us made a major contribution in opening the door for us and making it a lot more acceptable. We traveled with the Shirelles several times, and I became very good friends with Mickey Harris. With them having been out there prior to us, they could educate us and school us from a woman's perspective. Gladys adds, the Shirelles were one of our favorite groups. I think they did a lot to bring the girl groups across because they were one of the first girl groups to have hits. We watched them on stage, such as the way they took their bows. They were just great, and even though they knew they were great, they didn't flaunt their greatness, and they weren't big braggers. She adds, for so many years, it was a male-dominated field. It was refreshing when some women came along. It was like, let's see what they can do. People had the perception that there was a lot of catfighting going on with the girl groups, but that wasn't true. Every show was like a family reunion. We would go from the Apollo to the Uptown to the Royal to the Howard, and each time you would leave messages for the next group. You always knew who was coming the following week. We would leave notes in the dressing rooms or with the stagehands, and sometimes we would just leave a message on the wall. That's sweet. The girl group era had often been overlooked by music historians who tend to regard the female acts as interchangeable or worse, disposable, while the ones with the real talent were the behind-the-scenes players of songwriters and producers. Pause, because the Marvelettes went and got their own hit, came back with it, and then everybody else in Motown shined it up a little bit. For every Motown book we read, they didn't really talk a lot about the Marvelettes. I knew they was from Inkster, but that's it. Like the disco era, some 15 years later, the persistent stereotype has been the assumption that any group of girls with the ability to carry a tune could have a hit as long as they followed the direction of the male producers who were calling the shots. I'm going to tell y'all know I'm Judy's with Mickey Howard. And I asked her before, what is the worst part of the industry? And you know what she said? The men. Unfortunately for the groups, their dependence on their manager, songwriting, producer teams around them did put them at a disadvantage as far as maintaining their careers after the initial flush of success. Once a winning formula for a group had been identified, it was repeated in subsequent singles until the group stopped having hits.
Oh, my life,